in the Western Conference. And there is good news. They are playing at home where they have been solid. A 9-1-6 record here this season, unbeaten in their last 10 games at Toyota Stadium. But they are winless in their last 4 games. And today they are coming up against a Sporting Kansas City team who are missing out on the playoffs for the first time since 2010 and would love nothing more than to play spoiler here today. If FC Dallas are only able to get a draw, they're going to need a little help from Portland and LAFC. So right now, let's send it out to Max Brados at Bank of California Stadium.
Thanks, Susanna. LAFC has already locked up the best record in Major League Soccer. Today, their magic number, though, is 1. 1 win, and they will set the single-season points record. 1 goal from Carlos Vela, and he will stand alone and set the single-season goals record. For visiting Colorado, they started the season winless in their first 11 games. They've been on fire on the back end. They are still alive for the postseason. Win here, get some help, they are in. Today also marks the end of the 22-year illustrious Hall of Fame career of Tim Howard. Unless, of course, there is some Decision Day magic. Now let's go to Portland. That's where John Champion and Taylor Twellman are.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the likely epicenter of this Decision Day. Providence Park, Portland against San Jose. So much on the line, and effectively, Taylor, a playoff for a playoff.
Yeah, it's really the only game this weekend that both teams need a result. Now, obviously, Portland can still get in if FC Dallas loses, but they don't want to rely on that. But when I look at this Portland Timbers side here at home in the way this season has gone, John, if they are not in the playoffs, I'd make a real argument that this is the worst collapse in MLS history.
Really? It's sunny here. That doesn't necessarily match the local mood, which is one of tension. We are looking forward to this and some as we send you back to New York City at MLS studio headquarters.
Happy Sunday, folks. Happy Decision Day presented by AT&T. Welcome to Matchday Central. Big day today. We got 2 playoff places up for grabs in the Western Conference, a mad scramble for seeding, and, of course, some history at stake. I'm Andrew Wiebe. You know some of these faces, Calen Carr, Charlie Davies, Matt Doyle hanging out the board for us. But this smiling man, oh so handsome, is Jimmy Conrad, our esteemed guest. And Jimmy, this is the highlight of your year, right?
Yeah, no question. Today? This is my favorite day of the year. Everything is happening all at once, and it's going to determine who gets into the playoffs and who doesn't. Who gets into the big dance. So I'm very excited.
So much on the line today. And Taylor Twellman got us started with something pretty spicy there, and it's on the Portland Timbers. He's saying that this could be the biggest collapse in league history. Well, we shall see, Calen. I know you're watching that game awfully close.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the big match of the weekend. And, you know, those last 2 spots in the West, that's really what's going to be decided today. Portland at home versus San Jose team that's lost their last 5. You'd think that would be a no-brainer, but the way Portland have played at home, they can't take anything for granted. Then you go over to Dallas. They play at home against a Sporting side with no Ilie Sanchez and no Roger Espinoza. You think, but that Peter Vermees squad is going to fight to the end. So it's going to be down to the wire.
You see the odds here. Not much going for the Rapids, but who knows, maybe a miracle. The odds for LAFC, Jimmy, they have the shield. They're just worried about now history.
Yeah, they're definitely in it to make history. I'm sure Bob Bradley always has his guys ready to go and having that focus. And I want to give a shout out to Bob Bradley because I think he's done a very good job with this team. He proved it way back when with the Chicago Fire back in '98 when they won the Open Cup and MLS Cup in the first year of their existence. So he knows how to put teams together, and I think he's done an excellent job of getting everybody on the same page. So I don't see there being a drop-off in any way. And I think they want to go into the playoffs with some momentum, with some confidence, and not just backing into it.
And then you look at Carlos Vela. I mean, it's all about him breaking the record, the team breaking the all-time best regular season record. But Carlos Vela, everyone was scared coming on the hamstring injury, coming off it. You know, you thought, is he going to lose his form? Well, sat out 2 games, and now he's scored in 4 consecutive games. I'm pretty sure now he's all in, he's healthy. They're going to try and make sure that not only does he break the record, the team break the record, but then they have a couple weeks to all recover, get ready for a grueling postseason.
What about playoff seeding out in the East? Matt, what are you thinking on that side?
Yeah, I mean, playoff seeding in the East, there's a couple of things going on. Up at this 2-3, Philly and Atlanta head-to-head, well, not head-to-head today, but Philly hosting NYCFC, Atlanta hosting New England. Whichever team gets a better result there is going to have that second seed, which is a reward. And then 4, 5, 6, those teams all jockeying to get at least one home playoff game. And then in the Western Conference, like it's kind of gone under the radar a lip. Anybody from 2 to 5 can end up having a home game to start or could end up on the road. You guys talked a bunch about 6 and 7. We know that's where the drama is, but keep an eye on this as well.
So much to play for today on Decision Day. We've got a big show coming up for you. It's not just checking into the markets. It's not just the interviews, the analysis. It is the 2019 Expansion Priority Draft featuring Nashville SC and Inter Miami Club de Football. We will find out who gets the top pick in the expansion draft, the super draft, and the allocation order in just a little bit. Representatives from both clubs will be here in the AT&T MLS studios. We've got reports from around the league. The frequent flyer miles are being racked up right now by all of our reporters. We're also going to break down Carlos Vela and Zlatan, what they've done this season, and reflect a little bit on Run DMB's career. DeMarcus Beasley perhaps playing his final game. I can hope, right? I can hope that it's not the final game. But for now, let's look at some past Decision Day moments from the past 4 seasons as Carlos Vela walks his way into Banc of California Stadium with maybe the cutest member of the Decision Day crew. All right, past Decision Day moments going back to 2015 all the way through this day has been a special one or maybe a painful one depending on who you are. 2015, Red Bulls is all about the shield on this day.
Yeah, and who else but Bradley Wright Phillips, always the reliable one. And Sasha Kleshtin, they won this on the road in Chicago, got to celebrate with their fans, their second Supporters Shield in club history.
Speaking of the Red Bulls, 2016, BWP trying to get that golden boot.
Scores his 24th goal of the season to wrap up the golden boot on the last day of the season. It was fantastic. And BWP, legendary, one of the all-time greats.
One of the best teams in MLS history, too, that Red Bull squad. 2017, San Jose, this was pain for Dallas, and it was pleasure for San Jose, man.
It was definitely painful for FC Dallas. I know that Oscar Pareja was shedding a tear after this was all done on Decision Day in 2017 because Chris Wondolowski scored in the 93rd minute against Minnesota United, which sent everybody into delirium at Avaya Stadium, and that got the Quakes into the playoffs. Probably my favorite moment so far in Decision Day history.
Wando, Matias Almeida hoping for more of that on this day. They need a result. Currently below the playoff line. 2018, LA Galaxy, Zlatan, they're going to the playoffs, right? Yeah?
Not so fast against the Dynamo. That's right. Yeah, I mean, Dynamo on the last day of the season when Taylor talks about collapses in history. I mean, this is on a single day on Decision Day presented by AT&T. This has to go down as one of the biggest.
Decision Day, presented by AT&T. Those are the faces that you might see, certainly some smiles as well. Let's take a look around the league. All 12 games going on at once at 4 p.m. Eastern. You see San Jose and Portland on ESPN. You can watch the rest on ESPN+. You can also watch the Whip Around Show on ESPN+. Charlie, what are you looking for on this page?
Give me all of LAFC Colorado. That's it. They want to break the record, and I want to see Carlos Vela break the record. It's a massive game, and I can't wait to see the outcome.
Yeah, Portland, San Jose is the one for me. Always mayhem. You're going to have the crowd there in Portland. Almeida, rumors around his future. Is this Valeri's last game in Portland? There's just so many storylines in this one. I've got to be watching this match.
That's the Western Conference. How about on the East, Jimmy?
I mean, all those Western ones were pretty tasty, but on the East, I'm going to go with Atlanta versus New England. Atlanta are the reigning MLS Cup champions. They have a lot of experience in big games. They've proven it already this season with the Open Cup and the Campeones Cup. Is Joseph Martinez, is he going to start? Looks like he should have been on crutches after that injury for like at least 2 months, but he might be in the lineup in some capacity or coming off as a sub. So I'm excited to see how he does. But on the flip side, the New England Revolution, they've had a revolution under Bruce Arena. They've only lost 2 games since May. They're a hot team and could be one to be looking out for heading into the playoffs.
Looking at DC myself, no Wayne Rooney. If they win, they get that home game. But look, we've taken you around the league already. We've been to Frisco, Los Angeles, and Portland. Let's hit the ground across MLS once again with an AT&T call to the field with my partner in soccer, Bobby Warshaw, who's at Talon Energy Stadium in Chester.
Thanks, Andrew. This game on Decision Day presented by AT&T could have been a chance for the Union to steal the top spot in the East, but it's not. And it's not because they lost last week to 10th place Columbus. It was another missed opportunity for a club with a history of not quite. They've made the playoffs 3 times and lost in the first round 3 times. They've made the U.S. Open Cup final 3 times and lost 3 times. You don't usually get a chance to have a dress rehearsal to fix past mistakes and prepare for future big moments, but they get one today. The top team in the East, the presumptive favorite in the conference heading into the playoffs, is coming to their stadium. Winning games like this needs to be a habit. And let's remember, all 3 times that the Union have had a 1-and-out in the playoffs came after they lost the last regular season game of the year. Let's see if that changes today. For news coming out of Atlanta, let's head down to David Goss.
Thanks, Bobby. A fascinating one here in Atlanta. We could be looking at a 2019 Audi MLS Cup playoff preview between Atlanta United and the New England Revolution. We've been told both these sides are going to put out their best teams to push for a win to end the season on a high. For Atlanta United, Ezequiel Barco expected to be back in the starting lineup for the first time since late August. And what about the goal king himself, Josef Martinez? After his ankle and knee injury, he returned to training on Wednesday. He will be available to Frank de Boer here today. Now up to Poppy Miller in Montreal.
Thanks, David. It is pretty picture perfect here north of the border at Stade Saputo, and although the sun may have set on Montreal's MLS season, they come in flying high after winning the Canadian Championship for the first time since 2014, and they'll be looking to carry that momentum and play spoiler against New York Red Bulls, who sit fifth in the Eastern Conference. A far cry from where they were this time last year, but Chris Armas said earlier this week, this is the most together we have ever been. We've been tested and we've passed the test. If fourth place DC United fail to beat FC Cincinnati, then the Red Bulls are just one win away from flipping the script and hosting a first round playoff match. It's all coming up, but for now, let's head to Toronto, where Devin Kerr is at BMO Field.
Thanks, Poppy. Although the 2019 Audi MLS Cup playoffs will escape first-year head coach Caleb Porter and the Columbus Crew, they still have an opportunity to finish the year strong, going 6 games unbeaten. Toronto FC, on the other hand, they're actually in a very unique position, where if they get a win, coupled with losses by both DC United and New York Red Bulls, they can jump all the way up to 4th. They can slide all the way down to 7th, though, as well, if they're not careful. Greg Vanney and his Wanderers will warn against the wandering eye with other results around the league. Translation, forget all the scenarios. Go out, get 3 points, and move your way up the table. Now, let's jump down to Audi Field with Gabriella Di Giovanni.
Win. That's all DC United has to do today to secure home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. It might sound like an easy task as they're up against statistically the worst defense in MLS history in FC Cincinnati, but if you think FCC isn't here to play spoiler, think again. The Orange and Blue have picked up 5 points in their last 4, and with Wayne Rooney unavailable today due to suspension, DC will be without their go-to scorer. On the other hand, defense has been the identity for DC, recording their 4th straight clean sheet last week against the New York Red Bulls. Goalkeeper Bill Hamid has stood tall in goal behind a back line that has been purely dominant. So if the defense keeps playing their game, it might just come down to one goal to make sure Audi Field is rocking in the playoffs very soon. I'll kick it back to the AT&T MLS studios in New York City.
Oh, we got a little vertigo here. Been all around Major League Soccer in about 4 minutes there. Tim Howard making his way into Bank of California Stadium. This could be, unless there is that playoff decision day miracle for the Rapids, Tim's last game. Looking for DeMarcus Beasley in that same mold. Maybe the final game of Nacho Piatti in Montreal as well. We shall see. A big decision day coming up. But let's talk Union. I want to rewind a little bit and go back to what Bobby Warshaw was talking about, because this is a team of almosts. And they finally seem to be, Calen, like they're crossing that finish line. They've got the playoff place. They've got the home game in the playoffs, but they could have more. And yet today there's no Alejandro Bedoya. What do they have to prove against NYCFC?
I still think this team is a little bit fragile, as you can tell from this last result against Columbus Crew. This season has been an exercise in belief in a lot of ways for them, where you feel them getting stronger and starting to believe with themselves. Beating Atlanta at home, the way they celebrated that showed that game mattered a lot to them. Then they go out and Shabilko calls out LAFC, says, "We're waiting for you." But then they back it up with a result, 1-1 at home. That seemed to help them on. But I think this is a big one for them, too, with NYCFC, because the playoff success hasn't been there. The fight for trophies hasn't been there in the past. They've bloodied those young center backs. They've given them experience. It didn't result in anything for them in the past. But now this is they say trust the process in Philly, right? Can you see them take this next step?
This is the narrative they have to change. And I think when everybody's talking about it, they're thinking about it. You see it in the locker room. I'm sure the coach is mentioning it. I'm sure all the players, we got to do it. And maybe they're putting extra pressure on themselves because they failed so many times in big moments. Now, I think for today, the decision day, it could go one way or the other. Who's to say? But when the playoffs hit, I just don't know which team is going to show up. And that makes me pretty disappointed for them because they have some talented players.
We know, Charlie, that Bedoya is sort of the emotional leader of this team. You don't have him today, but the expectation is that he will be back. We'll hear more later from Bobby on that one. So who steps up today against NYCFC, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference?
As far as leadership, it's Harris Majunjian. I mean, this player is a guy that everyone respects. He's consistent. He gets on the ball. He can organize, and guys will listen. But this Philadelphia Union team has all the right pieces. When you're talking about Ilsinho coming off the bench, whether he starts and gives you 60 or he comes off the bench and he's electrifying. Fafa Picault, Shabilko now, they finally have a goal scorer who you can depend on and count on to put the ball in the back of the net. The only question mark, and I think that everyone, it's universal, is the center back position for the Philadelphia Union. Can they move forward? They've had enough experience in the regular season, Mark McKenzie, Elliott, but can they play together when it matters? Can they tough it out? Do they have the guts to challenge people?
Always a striker
in the playoffs?
coming at center backs. Look at this guy.
And that's really the end of the day. At the end of the day, can they do it from the center back position? Can they hold teams accountable? Can they be tough? Can they be resilient? And if they are, this team has everything it needs to make a run.
Do you feel that way because of how young they are? Because Elliott's 24 and McKenzie's 20.
Well, so yeah, the lack of experience,
Okay.
and then dealing with some of the big-time strikers in the Eastern Conference.
And look,
can they handle a Joseph Martinez? Can they handle a Eber? Because these are the guys you're going to have to beat to get through to the Eastern
And today,
Conference
it will be Ever, it will be Matricia, it will be Maxi Morales, and more. But there is more at stake for the Union than just playoff positioning. I'm talking CONCACAF Champions League, baby, CCL fever. You know I've got it. 4 spots are taken. Open Cup went to Atlanta, Canadian Championship to Montreal, the East/West champion, a.k.a. the team that's not the Supporters' Shield winner, and second went to NYCFC, and you know about LAFC. So that means if one of the 3 teams in the playoffs, Atlanta, New York City, or Los Angeles, wins MLS Cup, this spot will go to 3rd place in the Supporters' Shield standings. Currently, that is the Philadelphia Union. The other 2 teams in this mix right now are Seattle and Minnesota, who play at CenturyLink Field today. Let's talk more about Atlanta United. To do so, we will go out to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That's where we're chatting with David Goss for an AT&T call to the field. Let's get right to it, David. Joseph Martinez, is he in the starting lineup or not?
Well, lineup not out yet, Andrew, and I thought maybe Joseph would take the day off, get ready to celebrate the Wiebe wedding early, but everything I've been told is he has looked phenomenal in training. He looks healthy, he looks good, and as we heard from Frank de Boer earlier this week, if he's healthy and wants to play, it'll be his option. I'd be surprised not to see him out there on the field today.
I'm going to give you a little hint here. I've got Twitter pulled up on my computer. Joseph Martinez is in the starting lineup. It came out while you were giving that answer. Bad timing, unfortunately. But, Dave, this is going to be maybe a game we send you right back to.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. See? We're going to send you right back to this game potentially if Atlanta win, because if they do, that will make them the 2nd seed and New England the 7th seed. This is potentially a playoff matchup. What's that mean?
Yeah, it's an odd one for these teams, but as you see from those lineups, both these teams coming out to win it, coming out with their best groups to try and get ahead of steam going into the international break. But why trust me? Why not trust the best U.S. soccer coach of all time? I spoke with Bruce Arena just a moment ago about this. This is your first time playing against Atlanta United as a coach. What do you make of this franchise, of what they've built?
Well, an outstanding franchise, no question about that. Great facility. Obviously, defending champions in the league. You can't give them enough credit for what they've done here.
And then when you look at what they did last year, they won MLS Cup, and a lot of it was through their stars. Miguel Almiron, Joseph Martinez carry them. Do you feel like when you look at this squad that you've put together this year, that you have guys that can carry you through a playoff?
Well, we have some good players, for sure. Whether we have a team that's of the caliber of a champion right now remains to be seen, but this is going to be the first time around for this franchise in a number of years, so we'll see what they're like as we play this game today in the playoffs.
As you've worked with this group, what do you make of the group you've put together, and why would you, or should fans be positive going forward into the postseason?
Well, since the middle of May, we've lost 2 games. I haven't won as many as we'd like, but we've done very well, and we're probably among the top 5 teams in the league in the second half of the season. So we've come on. We have 2 outstanding players in Carlos Hill and Gustavo Bo. Our defense has come around. Our goalkeeper's been excellent. Our midfield is really shaping up. So I think we have a solid team, and we could surprise people in the playoffs.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you heard Bruce Arena talking about his team. They have good players. They're hoping to surprise teams in the playoffs. One of the guys who came in mid-season, and it's no surprise how good he is Gustavo Bo. Came up from Liga MX, and you're going to see him get on the ball right here. And Bo is, in a lot of ways, a throwback player because he's a second forward. He's not actually a playmaker, but he operates in the areas where playmakers operate. He likes to get in between the lines. That's where he does his work, and he doesn't then pass and move in order to create chances for other players. He passes and moves in order to create chances for himself. Notice as well, Teal Bunbury, the center forward, he operates along a different axis than Bo does. They're not on the same level going forward. Bunbury plays higher in order to keep the opposing back line a little bit deeper. That forces them to make decisions, and when the decisions come a little too slow, Bo does stuff like that. Now, that's not exactly classic Gustavo Bo. He's not an in the 6-yard box kind of guy. This is what he does. He combines right above the top of the box, and when he gets an inch of space, you got to follow him because he's going to do something like that. And I'm going to illustrate it again. He's getting the ball between the lines. The Orlando City midfielders did not follow him, and when Bo has that type of space, he is going to put the ball in the back of the net. And once again, I'll say this. New England Revolution center forward, dragging them away, creating just about a half step. That's all he needs. And that's been the Revs the second half of this season. They haven't played great soccer throughout. They've done just enough. And it's because of guys like Gustavo Bo and Carlos Gil. They're able to create something out of nothing. Goal after goal after goal. They've gotten result after result after result. And they're in the playoffs.
100% into the playoffs. You heard it here first. No, you didn't. You already knew that. Eastern Conference, it's done. Here is the race for the second seed in the East. Right now, it looks like Atlanta United with Joseph Martinez in the starting lineup per 538 is the most likely favorite there. But the Union trying to push above it. And here's the deal. If both these teams win in the first round, one of them's got to host it, and you want to be the team that hosts this one. It's going down, like all the games, 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Kasper Shabilko, one of the best goal-scoring stories in the league this season. All right, let's get out to Talon Energy Stadium, to Bobby Warshaw. Bobby, how's it going, man? You were one of the original folks on the Duke bandwagon back last year where there were some doubts about it. What did you see over the past 2 years that convinced you, and how might that apply to the playoffs?
Andrew, I like and trust teams that can pass the ball. If you have a culture of passing, you can take care of the ball, and you can create chances through your possession, you're more than likely to control the game. The problem for the Union in 2018 is that in big games, the variable that's more important than passing is intensity level. And some teams could play the game so fast and so hard that they could throw the Union off what they wanted to do, and the Union couldn't hang. What's changed in 2019 is that Ernst Tanner and Jim Curtin have implemented a higher intensity, higher pressure system, so now the Union can come to these games and not just be able to pass with anybody in the East, but also win duels and force turnovers and play the game and feel comfortable at a higher pace and higher intensity level. And the intensity and pace is probably going to be high today. You have the best team in the Eastern Conference, so say the Eastern Conference standings, in town in NYCFC. Eber, Matricia, Castellanos, Max Morales with a new DP deal. When Jim Curtin looks at this team and the danger that attack poses, what's he going to see? Yeah, that list of names speaks for itself, but what really separates this team are the cohesive ideas that they have built as an attacking group, because they put the opposition into a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If you play against NYCFC and you leave the middle open, all of a sudden it's Castellanos and Morales and Matriza combining with Eber through the middle and just hitting you up the gut. If you try and clog up the middle, then they change their formation a little bit and they release the wingbacks, Anton Tinnerholm and Ronald Matrita, two of the best outside backs in the league, by the way, to attack the space on the flank that you leave open. So yes, the talent is fantastic, but the reason this team is at the top of the East is this 1-2 punch of different but equally lethal attacking patterns that they've developed. Don't doubt me, said Dome Torrent in 2019. The Union, there have been some doubters. Alejandro Bedoya came to this club to change those doubters' minds, and now he doesn't get to play on Decision Day presented by AT&T. What are you hearing about a timeline for him as far as recovery as we head into the playoffs? Yeah, you said it, Andrew. Bedoya means so much to this team, and he had to leave last weekend early with a pulled quad, and the Union are confident that he'll be back and ready to go in 2 weeks for that playoff game. But for them today, it's about finding a blessing in disguise, and I heard the guys talk about a Mark McKenzie or a Jack Elliott. When your captain's not on the field, somebody has to step up, and this is a chance for maybe it's one of those two players. Maybe it's Marco Fabian or Arsenio or Brendan Aronson to really get more touches, more responsibility, and more leadership to build their confidence and form head into the playoff game, because if you look at that Eastern Conference standings, there's no easy game in the first round.
No, there isn't. And let's take a look at the Eastern Conference stadiums. Big thanks to Bobby for giving us that update in Chester. Here you see it. We know that top three. It's been there for a while now. But the big question mark, Jimmy, is in the three after that. The Red Bulls, Toronto, and DC United all fighting for one home game in these playoffs.
You know what? I'm going to be honest. I like the Red Bulls because there's no pressure. They didn't win the Supporter Shield, so they don't have any expectations. They can fly under the radar. They have the talent to win games. They haven't been maybe hitting at their peak potential at any point this season. Maybe we've seen glimpses, but nothing sustained. And I think maybe now this is the time to do it. And so I quietly like them. I don't know if I jinxed them.
No, does that worry you that that's the same argument Bobby made? You and Bobby
maybe
thinking the same way, Jimmy?
Hey, Bobby liked,
I don't know if
Bobby liked Dupe, and that worked out pretty well.
That's true.
Right?
Defenders stick together.
Hey, I'm just going to say this. I would like to see the
we're
Red
not
Bulls
thinking the same thing.
in that fourth or fifth spot, because then you're looking at maybe NYCFC on the other side if they get through, plus the Atlantic Cup. All right, let's get you out to Toronto and BMO Field for an AT&T call to the field. Devin Kerr caught up with Michael Bradley.
Here with Michael Bradley. Michael, some familiar foes on the other side of the field tonight in the likes of Will Trapp and Jazzy Zardes. Let's talk tactically. What has the preparation been like leading up to this match?
Yeah, look, it's a good team. Obviously, it's not the year that they would have hoped for, but it's still a team with a lot of good players and a team that can cause you real trouble. And so we've taken the week very seriously. Obviously, for us, we want to win. We want to, finish the regular season off on a really strong note. And, if DC or Red Bull slip up a little bit this afternoon, then we want to be in a position where we've taken full advantage.
Best of luck, Michael.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Toronto FC trying to push up the table. Michael Bradley. Some interesting stuff with his contract. We'll see if he's in Toronto next year. That's a story to follow. And, of course, we will follow everything that happens on Decision Day presented by AT&T. Matchday Central. Jimmy's not wearing the tux, but that's my biggest disappointment of the day, man.
Mine too, actually.
Yeah, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Doyle, tough guy. Calen, myself, Charlie, with a smile as always, giving you all the analysis, the interviews, the highlights, every single thing you need to know about Decision Day. But now let's give you some goals, the best from Decision Days past.
Here is Nagby, and it's a sensational goal! Yati's ball, Drogba up for the impact. Drogba again! Oh no! Didier Drogba has done it again!
Go Gilberto strikes. Then it's touched away. Lampard recovers back to Villa off the crossbar. Nice area for Barnes. There it is. There's Pedro Morales. He rips wide. Oh,
Centre of the box. Clever from Roldan. Tyrone Mears. Oh, the flick on from Morris. And Fernandez is there.
It will be for Fernandez. Oh, and he scores. Takes a shot from long range. Oh, wow. Absolutely sensational free kick.
Tisson. The shot.
has to go long, that Tarbell, and it does. Getting it from Quincy. Quincy puts a foot to it. Wondolowski goes San Jose! Oh, what a perfect way to say farewell to Fonzie! It is 2-0 Galaxy!
Espinoza in from Zusi. Espinoza!
As the rest of MLS prepares for Decision Day, presented by AT&T, two expansion clubs are busy preparing for 2020. Inter Miami have a couple Argentines in the bag and no shortage of headlines. Nashville SC's roster is coming together too. An exciting number 10 in Hani Mukhtar to pull the strings, and much more to come. We are here for the next step in the roster building process for both of these teams, Inter Miami and Nashville SC. And today, it's the expansion priority draft, the draft of drafts. There are 5 mechanisms on offer for both these teams to choose from. We'll have a coin flip, and then they will alternate back and forth and choose between the number 1 pick in the 2019 MLS Expansion Draft, the number 1 pick in the 2020 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the number 1 position in the allocation ranking order, and penultimate positions in the reentry and waiver order, as well as the Discover Player Ranking. We're joined today by Charlie Davies, former U.S. national team star and Revs forward, Union forward, and of course, my partner in soccer on MLS Matchday Central in Extra Time. Charlie's going to do the honors with the coin flick. Show the people at home, Charlie, what we have here. Yes, a coin with 2 crests. On one side, you have Inter Miami CF. On the other side, Nashville SC. Charlie, you will flip, catch, and reveal. No pat on the hand, just so the rules are very, very clear to you. You good with that?
Good.
All right, let's introduce the other guys in the room. For Inter Miami, we have the managing owner and CEO, Jorge Mas, and sporting director Paul McDonough. For Nashville SC, CEO Ian Ayre and general manager Mike Jacobs. Welcome, guys. Let's just skip the pleasantries, all right? Let's get to it. Charlie, you have the honors. Flip that coin. Let's see who has the first pick in the expansion priority draft. And it's up, and the reveal, Inter Miami CF have won the coin flip. They will have the first pick in the expansion priority draft. Fellas, what will you take?
Expansion draft.
All right, with the number 1 pick in the expansion priority draft, Inter Miami take the number 1 pick in the 2019 MLS expansion draft. Over to Nashville SC. What will you take?
We will take the allocation ranking order.
At number 2, the allocation order. You remember Brad Guzan taken via the allocation order for Atlanta United. We also saw that traded a number of times. LAFC used that asset to pick up Walker Zimmerman ahead of their expansion season. Inter Miami, back on the clock. What do you take?
The number 1 pick in the Super Draft.
The number 1 pick in the 2020 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas is off the board. Some notable names of late. Miles Robinson of Atlanta, Andre Shinyashiki, Hassani Dotson, both Rookie of the Year candidates this season, and Mason Toye was taken in 2018, so certainly some talent there. Back to Nashville. What will you take?
Yeah, we will take the MLS reentry and end of year waiver order.
So, MLS reentry and waiver order come off the board. The penultimate place there, and that means with the 5th pick, do the honors, guys. Just let the people at home know.
We'll take the Discovery Player Ranking.
There you have it. The Discovery Player Ranking going to Inter Miami. All right, there you have it. Those 5 picks to sum it up. Inter Miami with the first pick, and I'll turn to you guys. Take your pick. Jorge, I just want to know what you're building right now, how you feel about it, and what you think today's action will help you in the future.
Well, you know, a lot of excitement in Miami over our team. I know as well as in Nashville. You know, we're very, very excited with kicking off in March, building a roster and building a culture on our team of competing for championships and winning. You know, it's been a long time coming for Inter Miami and on David Beckham's quest and odyssey in our city. But I'm looking forward, you know, with Paul's leadership to build a roster that can compete for championships and reflect our community. You know, Miami is a city it's a cultural mosaic with a diverse culture, and I think our team will reflect that.
Excited for Inter Miami and very excited for Nashville SC as well. You take the allocation order position. That's different than we saw in Atlanta and Minnesota. Why allocation order? Is that a little hint maybe as to what's to come?
You know, for us, we felt that the allocation rank gives us the best chance to strengthen our roster straight away, and the assets we can claim, you know, from using the allocation ranking.
All right, there you go. Nashville SC, Inter Miami have their spots chosen. We shall see. November 19th is the expansion draft. You can watch that right here on MLS channels. Both these teams going back and forth with 5 picks. 12 players can be protected by each other team in Major League Soccer. But now, though, let's send it out to Seattle for an AT&T call to the field with Jamie Watson.
Ozzie Alonso will return to CenturyLink Field for the first time as a visitor after a decorated decade-long career in Rave Green. The former Sounder stalwart has been instrumental for Minnesota United in 2019, and a pregame ceremony is expected to include Alonso, but you can guarantee once the whistle blows, the pleasantries will end for both Alonso and the Sounders. Seattle's never lost to Minnesota United, going 4-0-1 since the beginning of 2017, but both teams need a win here today on Decision Day presented by AT&T to guarantee a home playoff spot. There'll certainly be an element of scoreboard watching as both teams will be looking at the results in Houston, where the Galaxy travel to the Dynamo and Real Salt Lake head to Vancouver. For more on RSL versus the Whitecaps, let's head 143 miles north on I-5 to Tyler Terrence, who's standing by at BC Place for more.
Thanks, Jamie. I can almost reach out and touch you 143 miles away, but I won't. I will talk about, though, however, Freddie Juarez's message since taking over for Real Salt Lake and for Mike Pecky, which has been really simple. Play the game with hunger, play the game with passion, week in and week out. And that's been enough to get them over the line and to clinch a spot in the 2019 Audi MLS playoffs. However, that sheer desire alone is not going to be enough to get them a home game at Rio Tinto in the first round. Not only do they need a win here at BC Place against a struggling Vancouver side, but they also need some help at CenturyLink Field. And on top of all of that, they need a big result from the Houston Dynamo and DeMarcus Beasley. For more on that, let's go all the way down to BBVA, where Matt Peterson is standing by. Matt?
Thanks, Tyler. After a 20-year professional career, DeMarcus Beasley will play his final game today as the Dynamo hosts the LA Galaxy at BBVA Stadium on Decision Day, presented by AT&T. For the second straight year, the Dynamo will try to play spoiler after ending the Galaxy's playoff hopes a year ago. The Galaxy led 2-0 at home before the Dynamo came back for a 3-2 win to keep the Galaxy out of the playoffs. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is 2 goals back of Carlos Vela in the Golden Boot race, and the Galaxy still have a lot to play for. With the win, they can climb as high as second in the West, but with the loss, they could fall as low as 5th and start the playoffs on the road. For more, let's go back to the AT&T MLS studios.
All right, thank you, Matt. Let's talk about the Dynamo, and unfortunately they will not be in the playoffs, and unfortunately I say because that means no DeMarcus Beasley in the playoffs. He is the pride of Fort Wayne, Indiana. You guys have some experience playing with him, against him, and in a couple different environments. I'll just list it off for you if you don't know. Chicago Fire, PSV, Man City, Rangers, Hanover, Puebla, Houston, 126 caps, 4 World Cups. What's this guy mean to U.S. soccer? I'll let you start, Charlie.
Well, he's a role model. He's a perfect example of someone who works hard at his craft and tests it overseas and just is just a great person, great teammate. He accepted me when I was a young youth coming into the full national team and really gave me the encouragement that I needed and made me feel comfortable and allowed me to grow within and gave me those little tips of advice so I could, hit the ground running.
What I think is really interesting about DeMarcus, we see all those stats, and yet he still feels like he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. He should be in the conversation with the greatest of all time that we've ever produced in this country. He should have played in 5 World Cups, longer conversation, but he has done it, and he's done it consistently, and he's continued to morph and adapt his game to whatever style he was playing in, any league that he was playing in. And I think that doesn't get the respect it deserves either, because it just shows his IQ for the game and how smart he is as a player.
We've seen in the last couple of weeks his personality start to come out, some wide-ranging interviews and the like, and you start to feel, okay, this DeMarcus Beasley that we've been missing is starting to show himself, and maybe he'll do that more in retirement because what's this? He may not show it to the public at large, Calen, but he's obviously a prankster. Where do you get this much packing peanuts? And how do you actually get it into cars? That's the question. I guess it's good to be in Houston. Everybody's got their...
It's a veteran move.
Yeah, everybody's got the sunroof open. You got to get the hot air's got to rise.
Well, the best part of it, too, is there's a photo of him in the infamous, drinking water
the water fountain.
Yeah. And they're giving him some sticks. So he shows he can give it back here. The players coming out. I saw Boniek and all of these guys on the Dynamo posting about it on social media. But such a legend. I think what Jimmy said stood out to me the most is we've seen so many guys with the U.S. men's national team where they move countries. It's so difficult, and it doesn't fit in one place. And maybe this works in the Netherlands, but not in England. He did it in Champions League, Mexico, different languages, different cultures. 4 World Cups, the only U.S. player ever to do that. So absolute legend.
I think
we're going to miss him.
Absolute legend. There it is. And I think Joseph Martinez is on his way to that as well. Here comes Run DMB into BBVA Compass. Maybe a nice cool game, perhaps, for his last one as a professional. We hope that's not the case. But look, Joseph Martinez is in the starting lineup for Atlanta, and Frank DeBoer said this week that he was basically going to give Joseph the decision. And once he said that, it was Joseph Martinez was going to start. Is this a good idea or a bad idea, Jimmy?
Well, if you're the player, it's a great idea because you never want to miss games. You never want to miss valuable minutes, let's say, with the team, especially in big games. But you have to wonder if maybe it was in his best interest to potentially sit this one out, given the severity of what it looked like with his injury. But as Charlie knows, we were talking about it off camera, if you give the player the choice, they're never going to say no.
No, you're always going to want to play. You always want to be on the field. And this also, maybe, I think we're all kind of overreacting to the injury. Maybe it wasn't as bad as we all think. And you don't want to have Josef Martinez go a couple weeks without playing because, yeah, sure, they're going to have a little break, but you want to have him still be fit. You don't want anything to atrophy. Give him the time on the field. Maybe you just play 60 minutes today and you sub him off.
This guy's a warrior. I mean, it looked bad. To see him come back and you hear rumors about him playing injured throughout last season or in the playoffs, it just speaks to his personality. I went to the All-Star game last year in Atlanta. The guy's sticking his face in places that you would never dream of doing it. He's been the reason they've been able to drive on and still find success even after losing Miguel Almiron. Takes them from a team that I would say would be really fragile going into the playoffs to a team that, to me, is still theirs to title to defend.
Yeah, this is just as much psychological, I think, as on the field. Seeing Josef Martinez suited up in the starting lineup has to do so much for Atlanta United, the team, the coaching staff, and their fans. Jeff Lenowitz said this week, this dude's a freak. I don't know how he did this. How is he healing this fast? It's basically been 2 weeks since we saw him crying on the sidelines there. Here is what they're chasing and what Josef currently has with Carlos Vela, the all-time single-season goal mark in Major League Soccer. Vela has one more game to get this done. Zlatan has one more, too. If he gets a hat trick and Vela doesn't score, that's 32 goals, and he is the new record holder. And just back down there, I think at 26th is Josef Martinez in 2019. Who knows? It's Josef, and it's the Revs at Mercedes-Benz. We've seen it get. I'm just saying, we've seen it get ugly there before.
Revs have never been Atlanta.
I'm just saying.
Let's not get crazy here.
All right. No matter what happens, though, this is definitely the single best attacking season in the history of MLS from Carlos Vela. He is a genius, but don't take it from me. We ask the people who see it on display every single day, his teammates. You can get more on this video at MLSsoccer.com and YouTube.
Lo está teniendo ahora sí, bien a Tuesta, Carlos Vela le puede pegar de pierna derecha, se va a abrir, se cierra, ahora sí.
Bueno, para mí Carlos Vela es un genio con su locura propia.
Carlos Vela, para mí, una palabra, humildad.
Vela with a shot to corner!
The season he's had is record-setting. He is so amazingly gifted, but does not want to be treated that way.
Rossi to Vela. And there's Rossi again.
Es de todos sabidos que a él no le gusta el fútbol. Pero él sabe que es su modo de vivir, su modus vivendi.
All right, guys, Vela and Zlatan, two guys that have been stealing the headlines, trading them back and forth throughout the seasons. When you play with special players like this, and I always say, you can't do what they can do, but you can begin to see a little bit of what they see when you're on their team and when you're trying to go against them. How do you approach that when you have a guy, we'll start with Vela, that's playing so well? How do you keep him going at this time of the year?
Well, you earn their respect by working hard. And it's about being in the right spots, having the ball, creativity, combining with Carlos Vela, because when you get him on the run, that's when he's at his best. So if you can continue to put balls in behind for him, play the 1-2s, that's when you're going to see him create chances and score goals.
I think the flip side of that is you have to stifle that support. You can't let him get the ball in areas of the field where he really wants to get it. It's like that middle channel off one of the posts, let's say. It's not very big, but when he gets it there, he's dangerous. You can't stop him. He can beat you on the dribble. He can run. But if you can stifle him getting the ball in those areas, then I think you can have some success.
Okay, star of the service. On the other side, Zlatan. People have talked a lot about the dynamic between the teammates and in the locker room with Zlatan. How do you handle a guy that has such big personality and not always maybe in the most positive way?
Well, that's one player that you go out there and you try and earn his respect right off the bat, and that's by always looking for him when you have the ball. Because at the end of the day, he's going to put himself in a position to receive the ball and make something happen. He's a legend. He's an icon. So when you're playing with someone like that, it's about going out there and pleasing him, showing him that, hey, I'm in it for the team, but I'm also going to make you shine better, play better, and ultimately we're going to win games.
All right, Jimmy versus Zlatan, the matchup we've been waiting for.
I would love it. I wish I had that opportunity. For me, it's more about matching what he brings to the table, giving him some of his own medicine. So he likes to be physical, but he doesn't necessarily like when people are physical with him. We saw it earlier in the year with the Real Salt Lake defender in particular. You got to just poke around. just kick him a little bit. Just be physical. Just make sure you're a presence, a pest in some ways, because he's shown, especially in this league, that he's highly emotional and he's going to react emotionally. And if you get him that spot, he's going to get off his game. Now, we have seen it where he bangs in 3 goals against LAFC when he's upset. But I think more often than not, it could lead to a red card. It could lead to him getting distracted in a positive way for your team.
So you're taking the Aguchi and Yewu
Yes,
approach.
Exactly. Shout out to Gooch.
Give him a broken rib. What about on the media side? His ability just to own the room.
Yeah, I think that's just part of his caricature. I think he's done a very good job of building that brand. For me as an opponent, you kind of see right through it. You still have to go out there and perform, and he's proven that time and time again all over the world. But once a game starts, it's a little bit different. I just think you have to let, as you say, respect, but on the defensive side of the ball, you have to let him know that it's going to be a long day for him.
Today, not so long for Zlatan. At least compared to 2018, that was a long day. LA Galaxy on that day didn't make it into the playoffs. On this day, they're fighting for a home game in the Audi 2019 MLS Cup playoffs. Meanwhile, San Jose, Portland, make or break match for both of these clubs. Taylor Twellman said in the beginning of the show that if Portland fall out, that is the biggest collapse in the history of Major League Soccer. Let that sink in a little bit for you. I got some news. No Diego Valeri, no Brian Fernandez. Not just in the 11, in the squad. We'll have more 11s coming up here on Matchday Central. But for now, let's head out to Providence Park for an AT&T call to the field and game preview with ESPN's John Champion and Taylor Twellman.
Thank you very much. Welcome to sunny Portland, to Providence Park, which is likely to be the epicenter of this MLS Decision day, with Portland and San Jose scrambling, fighting, battling. Warring words have been spoken by both coaches, but they basically need to nail down their playoff berths at the end of the season. And on a day when Portland Timbers in particular need their heavy hitters, we know there's no Brian Fernandez. We're still waiting for the team sheets to be officially issued, but there is a suspicion he may not be the only big name missing.
John, shocking, isn't it? When you and I arrived at the stadium, we got rumblings that Diego Valeri may not be in the lineup. He may not even be in the 18 due to a bad calf throughout all week. He's been in and out of training. So that's going to be a massive decision. Now, keep in mind, Portland looks at this and says, listen, if we get a point, we're in the playoffs. You then get 2 weeks off so you can keep Diego Valeri and get him healthy for the playoff run. But they need a Sebastian Blanco to show up. Giovanni Savarese yesterday talking about if he had one player to hit his stride in the month of October, he wants Sebastian Blanco to be the Blanco that we saw in the 2018 MLS Cup playoff run. Obviously, this layoff to Diego Valeri won't be there today, but without Fernandez and potentially without Valeri, they need Blanco to be at his best and desperately need him to take charge of this game.
And what of San Jose? We sat down with Matias Almeida, fascinating character, the former Argentine international, at the team hotel last night. He said, look, our season has been in 3 parts. Really bad start, a great middle, and now we've dipped again. It's 8 defeats in their last 10.
Yeah, and it's been disappointing, John, because when you looked at the middle part of it, I think a lot of us, especially myself, looked at San Jose and said they're going to make a run for that second seed. But the way this season has ended, losing 8 of the last 10, red cards, they've given up a ton of goals after the 65th, 70 minute. So questions remain, is it Almeida's system? Are the players tired? But this is a completely different San Jose Earthquakes team in 2019 than it was in 18, and they're a wild card. I have no idea what kind of game they're going to show up today, and neither does Giovanni Savarese and the Portland Timbers. Today's going to be a good one.
So there's no point in me asking you what your gut feeling is?
Absolutely not.
I won't then in that
I'm
case.
still hungry. I didn't eat this one.
Stop it. Right, let's concentrate on this game, and you can join us 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, live across the nation.
Press Food's just around the corner, Providence Park, Taylor. Just walk out of your booth and find it, man. FC Dallas got an opportunity today, too. Sporting KC in town. Should they win, they will be on. Let's go out now to Frisco, to Susanna Collins. Susanna, this scenario, as I just said, isn't very complicated here. FC Dallas win, and they're in. It has to feel like a playoff game, right?
Absolutely, Andrew, and Luchi Gonzalez said it best. For his team, the playoffs start today, and he has stressed the importance of embracing the pressure, embracing the stress, and this FC Dallas team has done just that. They are a very confident group heading into this one, and for good reason. They're playing here at their fortress, Toyota Stadium. They are 9-6-1 here on the season, unbeaten in their last 10 games here, and they're playing a Sporting Kansas City team that doesn't have a lot to play for today, having already been eliminated from the playoffs. They're without Ilie Sanchez. They're without Roger Espinoza. But even having said that, Luchi Gonzalez knows that he can't expect any handouts from Kansas City. You said for this team, the playoffs start today. You stressed the importance of embracing the pressure, embracing the stress. How have they responded to that message?
Yeah, I think they're excited. You know, naturally as humans, there's nerves and there's some tightness, but through that, these are soldiers in that locker room. They're brothers. They fight together. They're together no matter what, and like I said, they want to leave everything on the field for our fans, and they know that the format's different this year in playoffs. So it's 5 games to win an MLS Cup, and this is game 1, and we got to earn it to get game 2.
It's a young FC Dallas team, but at the beginning of the season, you said that playoffs were the goal. You were on the brink. What would it mean to this team?
Sure. When you have youth and you're evolving the playing style and the idea of the game, it's a process, you know, and it does take time. But next year, if we're focused on next year, that's too late. Or make it a 3-year plan, that's too late. We need to focus on today, be the best. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow is tomorrow. Let's be the best we can today.
Lucci, thanks for the time. Best of luck. Well, also of note for FC Dallas, Paxton Pomykal will not get the start today, but he is included in the 18 and could come off the bench. But a player to watch, Zdeněk Ondrasik, the Cobra. He has been so good for this FC Dallas team, having been involved in 7 goals since August 18th, which is only 3rd behind Carlos Vela and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, which is pretty decent company to be keeping, Andrew. So definitely keep an eye on him in this game today.
Thank you, Susanna. Enjoy the match out there in Frisco. Here are the scenarios for FC Dallas. Instead, if they win, they are in. If they tie against Sporting Kansas City and San Jose lose or tie against Portland, they stay in because they're currently a point ahead of the Quakes. And if they lose and Colorado lose, that is San Jose, well, then you keep moving. So they need help. Maybe it's up to them, really. But
Andrew, I'm just going to say it. If you can't win at home against a team that didn't qualify for the playoffs, then you don't deserve to go to the playoffs yourself.
All right.
That's throwing that out there.
There it is. Those are facts. Facts from Jimmy. All right, let's go to the touchscreen and take a look at a Portland Timbers lineup that does not include Diego Valeri or Brian Fernandez.
Yeah, we're going to run through a lot of the lineups today, but let's start with the big one, Calen. No Valeri, no Fernandez. We knew Fernandez wouldn't be in. He's suspended. Valeri has a calf injury that he's not able to play through. That means Dairon Asprilla.
It's Dairon time.
It's playoffs. It's Dairon time. Andy Polo. I mean, those guys have had a lot of reps. They haven't scored a lot of goals. It feels like it's putting a lot of pressure on Jeremy Ebobisse.
Yeah, but Ebobisse has stepped up in each time, and you got to remember he was part of that troop that led them to the MLS Cup final last year. So not wanting for experience for a young player. People are always talking so much about, can we find young American goal scorers? Where's the next Charlie Davies? Well, I don't know about that, but Ebobisse is a promising one. 11 goals this year. There's going to be a lot on his shoulders, not just necessarily for goals, but to hold the ball up and bring others into play.
Yeah, they've done a better job with that lately. I actually think they've attacked a lot better the last couple of games. Had a bunch of bad luck in the run before that, but they also settle for too many crosses. They lead the league in crosses. When their fullbacks push up, they tend to just bomb them in from all the way from the touchline. Those are next to useless. They have to combine through the middle. Going to be tough to do that against the Quakes, who have played good soccer all year, but they haven't put the ball in the net much lately.
No, and there is an answer to that. When you need goals, go to the goal king. Chris Wondolowski inserted into the starting lineup. Will play on this smaller pitch in Portland. So dangerous around the box. Trying to get that width. Can they get Espinoza isolated one-on-one and Vaco on the side? When these two are buzzing on the wings, that'll open up space for Wondo to find goals underneath.
Yeah, he's been their only weapon, though. Since August 10th, none of the wingers on this team have scored a goal. It's all fallen on Wondo. That is pretty tough for any striker. Let's go to the Dallas game. Dallas versus Sporting Kansas City. We'll start with Sporting KC. They are on the road without Roger Espinoza with an experimental lineup. Gianluca Bussia was very good last week. He's just 17, though. Gutierrez has been playing out of position as a 6. Hernandez just signed. At this point, what are you looking for from Sporting?
Well, you're hoping for a prayer at this point. And Shallowy was a forgotten man from last year. Injuries, absences.
Finally scored last week.
Got a goal, so you're hoping to play the hot hand. The hot hand for them really has been Russell. But this is where the problems have been in center back position over the last season. Really, the gap without Iko Para there. If you're FC Dallas, that's got to be the area you're looking to exploit.
Yeah, and this is FC Dallas. As Suze mentioned, no Paxton Pomykal. He is nursing a knock. No surprises here, though. Santi Mascara in for Dom Badji, but we expected that. Ondrasik has been good recently. They will rely on him to score goals. And let's not complicate it, guys. As Jimmy said, if you can't beat a non-playoff team at home on decision day, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. LAFC trying to set the record. Colorado Rapids trying for a miracle right here. Let's take a look at LAFC. We got this lineup messed up a little bit. I actually expect it to be Diego Rossi as the number 9. Vela back out here on right wing. Brian Rodriguez, they're still waiting for the DP signing to really deliver in terms of his productivity.
Guys, if Colorado is to get a result here, a win, what do they need to do?
Set pieces, and counterattacks. If you look at Colorado over the last 5 months, really, they've played some good soccer. We got the lineup a little bit messed up here as well. But they have played some very good soccer, and they've been tough to break down. But most of their success has come from, all right, you're going to throw your fullbacks way up the field. We're going to hit into that space with our wingers, or we are going to win our set pieces. And they have been devastating. This guy right here, Calen.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Reliable here. They will also sometimes flip these two, give them the opportunity. Shinyashiki will drop underneath Kai to be able to pick up the ball, look to play 1-2, similar to the way you highlighted earlier with Gustavo Bo, trying to find that gap in between the two spaces and then use some late arriving runs into the box.
Yep, that will be it for the Rapids. And let's finish up, actually, with Seattle versus Minnesota. If I could find it on here. Here we go. Minnesota United. Angelo back in the starting lineup. Mason Toye played his way in midseason, played his way out over the past month. I thought Angelo was very good last week. Everything else just about as we expected, but a little bit more defensive here with Hassani Dotson on the right wing, Calen.
Hey, I'm on the clock here, guys. We got a minute left, so show me that Seattle lineup.
All right.
Calen, come join me back at the table right now. We're going to go some rapid fire here.
And this is just about the strongest lineup Seattle could put out. I would expect Victor Rodriguez to come in for the final 30 minutes in this one. This foursome in attack. I'm going to send it back to the desk. They're in my ear. They're yelling at me.
Matt Doyle. You sit in his ear and he just doesn't listen. It's okay. We needed to see those lineups. You can get them all on the MLS app and MLSsoccer.com. Head over to ESPN or ESPN Plus, but let's get some predictions here. Last 2 spots in the Western Conference. Give me some names here. Portland and Colorado. They're the only 2 that can go together. The rest of it, it's just a mix.
I was going to pick Portland, but now with this lineup changing, I'm going to it. San Jose and Dallas, I think, at the last 2 spots in the West.
Spicy. You agree? Disagree?
I'm going to go with Portland and Dallas.
Ooh, okay.
Home teams.
Winning at home.
San Jose and Dallas.
Okay, we got a little
Pick
bit
it
of a
with
mix
your heart,
here.
Jimmy.
Portland,
with my heart. Never works
nervous
out for me
times
usually.
for them, no doubt
Always
about
pick
that.
the home teams, guys.
How about Carlos Vela? Single season scoring record? You going to get a goal today?
Yes.
Yes.
He breaks the record.
That's 4 yeses. I'll give you that as well. How about LAFC and the record for points? They're going to get a win. It's got to be a win.
Win and Carlos Vela. They do the double.
I think it's going to be a draw, but Vela will
score. That won't make Bob happy. Okay. I didn't get your answer.
Dream season, they completed today. All the records.
All right, all the records for LAFC. Mateus Almeida, could this be his final game? We don't know, man. Decision day presented by AT&T. Put the camera back on Doyle. He needs it.
Like 9 more
We'll be back at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, everybody. We'll see you then. Enjoy the game. ESPN, ESPN Plus.